He is truly a great leader in this business, somebody that you should look up to, someone you should listen to, someone you should try to emulate even. But let's get him up here. Justin's going to give him a quick interview so we can get inside the brain of Mr. Tyler Reese.
Tyler, when I met, I was actually up with this group in Kansas City that we still have a great relationship with, and they had a relationship with Tyler and Innovative, and that was prior to you buying out partners later on in Innovative, right? You were the
correct.
CEO at the time, or?
Yeah, I was the CEO. When I first got in the business, from Central Pennsylvania, and I worked for a small agency. 2015, I went out on my own, started Reese Financial, quickly scaled and grew. John and Jeff, my previous business partners, owned Innovative Insurance Brokers. And they asked me to be their CEO and to partner with them in the beginning of 2017. So when we met, I was minority owner of Innovative Insurance Brokers, and but I was the CEO.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, you were getting some attention online. I'd always see you, and I'd think, I'd associate with Final Expense.
Oh yeah.
But I would see Tyler Reese on there, and he was out there a little bit, and I was like, that guy seems dynamic for some reason. And then randomly, I don't even know what year this was. I wish I knew. 2018 or 19, maybe 19. You called me and asked me. You said, hey, can I fly you to Wilmington just to talk about, just to shoot the breeze? We're really trying to break into Medicare, and we want to work with you in some capacity. And you flew me up there, and it wasn't like Tyler didn't try to recruit me. Actually, he was saying, hey, we want to work with somebody that's the real deal. And they were bringing in a few people at that point, I believe, and actually started talking about putting stuff under us for mentorship and getting coaching. Even though from a volume perspective, as an entity, you were way bigger than us, like with life and annuity production.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting, conversation, because then I'd talk to people and they're like, oh, you don't want to don't partner with Innovative Financial Group, don't partner with Tyler. And so then it always gave me these like reservations. And then time and time again, as our relationship evolved and neither one of us were benefiting financially off of one another, but we became friends, you would always come through and help me with stuff that even sometimes an upline couldn't help me with or wouldn't help me with. And I actually remember we're going into, and this may have been strategic, I don't know, but we're going into AEP one year, and I'm like, I got all these extra field agents this year. I think it was maybe 2020.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need a bunch of, B leads or something to give them in between the batches of fresh leads for these field guys that were out there. And I had talked to uplines, and they wouldn't give them to me. And I told you, and you're like, oh, I have 9,000 Mississippi B leads I'll give you. And he just sent me a spreadsheet full of them with the links to all these leads. And by the way, they're gold. Johnny closes, he still writes on them over the phone like crazy. Even that was, a couple of years old now, which is a whole nother topic. But Tyler did that, and there was just time and time again where I thought there's probably more to this relationship. And then I began to start thinking, people don't want me to work with Tyler because they want me to put everything with them. And that's really what a lot of times advice from FMOs can become, is scare you away from building relationships. Well, since we built a relationship, we figured out our vision is very much aligned in growth and disruption.
Yeah. And like awesome. Just to touch on what you said, like in 2019, and maybe a little bit before that, I started seeing the value of branding, and especially online. And you were like one of the pioneers in the space. So my strategy, and for anyone that knows me, 24/7, I just can't shut my brain off. It's always constantly thinking about what can we do differently? How can we be better? What can we change? Not saying that's healthy.
It's not. But we actually talked about this yesterday. Just hit on it. Typically, a lot of us people in maybe those roles, we have an addictive personality, and thankfully we've chosen to be addicted to our profession. And both of our wives have just decided they have to accept that, it's better than the alternative, and they just have to deal with the fact that we can't shut it off. So, and they both do a great job at dealing with us.
Yeah, we are blessed for the wives that we have. So I just wanted to really invite people in that, had a presence. And, for years, people were telling me Medicare, Medicare, Medicare. One thing with me is I want to make sure that I understand and I really feel great about, what we're doing. I don't sprint to things. In my mind, I do. And my team might say with investment in trying out marketing strategies, I do. But when it comes to rolling out a new product, when it comes to creating a new opportunity and a new revenue stream for my partners, I want to make sure that I truly understand it. And so we brought in some people. I got a chance for him to come in. We had a really good conversation. I think what's nice about my relationship with Justin is it was built on a relationship, that there was no monetary gain to us, like when we first started our friendship.
Yeah.
Everybody, and that's, things take time, right? Like from 2008 to 2015, I was a personal producer selling final expense insurance on a 25% contract. Like people think that success and getting to where you need to be needs to be overnight, right? No, like those years of me learning every nuance of that side of the business, when I finally stepped out on my own in 15, it was like, I'm ready. I can help and I can impact and I can bring value to whoever it is that decides to work with me. And that's what this business is. And that's what I built. That's what I pride myself with my company. I always say I'm not an FMO. I hate labels, right? IMO, GMO, FMO, PPO. I mean, my word, I'm not a health plan, right?
Yeah.
We're a platform and we want to bring resources and value and help people grow on their terms. And, Justin is such a great example of someone that does so much for so many people and there's no monetary gain. Look at the community he created. Look at this event. How long did you just constantly give people great information, great content, still doing it today? And guess what? Like, you don't ask for anything in return.
So it's the thank you economy concept. I brought into it years ago that, putting it out there for a long time would come to fruition on the backside. And you've done that too, because when we started to have any kind of overlapping, financial gain, not to get into the specifics for fear of maybe some of it shouldn't be disclosed. I don't know. I'll tell you privately. But, Tyler actually came and started and put some stuff under us that actually moved quite a bit of final expense production under us. And we were in no state to have that, but because of the final expense commission level being tied to the Med Sup, I had the same level as him, and we were trying to accomplish a goal, and we knew we'd work better together. And Tyler voluntarily dropped his commission level from where it was
6%.
and then came under me, and then was, and still under me, but it allowed us to climb back up. So now he's still at the level he was before. But the goal was the goal, and I won't say the carrier, but the goal was to work together to get direct contracts where we could, so that we could control the entire, pie and ecosystem and help people. And we've fought that like that with other things. And then I started putting Medicare Advantage contracts with Tyler, and we were basically creating an overlapping goal to be able to create the platform that we want together. And but the cool thing was I had and I still have a lot of great relationships with other FMOs, but a lot of them that maybe were older or not as innovative, no pun intended, were not wanting to do anything like that. Not even one little not even like a smaller ancillary contract that I had the top on or something. It always seemed like the relationship had to be one-sided.
Yeah.
You can profit off of, I can profit off of you, but you can't profit off of me, type of thing. And Tyler took a different approach, and I wouldn't say that either one of us are making a tremendous amount of money on each other at this point, because we're just, if anybody was, it me making it off of you guys a little bit now. But really, it's still about the overlapping effort between our two companies to get there. And it's worked a lot, because since then, a lot of those Medicare contracts that I didn't have direct at the time, now we've worked together to get that, which we've kind of been able to collaborate, and then we're sharing information.
Yeah. And
it just became a really quality relationship, because it was about understanding the big picture. And because of the way it evolved, we would I've texted you at 2 a.m. with stuff. He'd call me. I tell his team they love making fun of Tyler because he'll call me, and I know he does this to some of his team and say, "You're never gonna believe what I just found out." About once every other day, with new information, and but we're always trying to crowdfund that information, in our relationship so that we can use it to create a better platform for the people that we serve. And historically, the industry harbors the information and doesn't share it. And that's really what we're trying to disrupt, I think.
For sure. And I think, one thing that a lot of people lose track of is like, it's really not the idea. It's the people behind the idea. And that's like one thing that I always share and I always say is like, there's always going to be the next best lead. There's always going to be, a process that might make someone more efficient in the sales world, which is great. But like for Josh Lustig, for example, right? Like he has a great, unique sales system and process that's truly unbelievable, but Josh is unbelievable, right? Josh has a great support system, a great team. He's centered not only in life, but in business. So as great as his idea is, like if his strategy stopped working tomorrow, he would still have massive success because he would pivot, he would change. That's the other thing. This business, I wish it was black and white. It's not. There's a lot of gray, and there's a lot of change, and you have to be willing to make changes. My team gets so frustrated with me, and I even have some agencies and agents that over time when we try new things, I change it if it's not working, right? It's got to work for all parties involved. Like this is a value-based business. You got to communicate, you got to work hard, you got to make investment. And if you do those things, you'll have a lot of success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys do that well. And there's there's a lot of confusion, I think, in the agent force when somebody comes up really fast, when the new group emerges, because a lot of the old groups will throw out information to try to, I don't know, cut your legs out from under you or something. So we've seen that, and people were doing that to me with Tyler. I've had a great relationship with him, and it's not a recruiting fest for me. I'm just like, it's almost like a uniform rule that you can put on anybody. If somebody telling you something bad about someone else, it's possible that they're doing that because they have an incentive to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I always tell people, you're always going to have people that say positive things, negative things, and all I ever say is, there's two ways I approach that, right? If someone says, "Oh, I heard this," or "I heard that," I said, the first and foremost, let's talk to that person right now.
Yeah.
Like, let's address it, especially if it's not even close to remotely being true. And that, I'm like, let's just get on a call, let's work through it, let's, figure it out. And then the other thing I say is, like someone last night said, "Oh, well, I had heard something," and I said, "Well, there's probably 75 to 100 people here that work with me. Ask them."
Yeah.
And don't take it from me if you don't want to. Go speak to the people that work with us, the people that have success, the people that grow. And that's really what this business is. Like, it's relationships, and this is really important. It all starts with relationships. Like, we have to be good people and we have to treat people well, right? Then it comes down to value. And you have to create value, and then you have to provide resources. And then once you provide resources, you have to create activity. Once you create activity, you have to measure performance. Once you measure performance, you rinse and you repeat. And if you do all those things really well, you retain your client, your agent, your agencies. We're like 98% retention with the people that work with us. Why? So I knew you had. So Tyler gives me a list of topics. He said, I think we should talk about these things. I'm going to read a couple of these, and I want to know by show of hands or clapping which ones you want to talk about. He wanted to talk about LOA shops versus brokerage distribution. Does anybody want to know our philosophy on that, or the conversation? Okay. So, we have LOA controlled distribution. Right.
And I told somebody, I think this last night, right? Actually, it was Matt Sapala from PHP. As we were talking, they have a huge controlled distribution, life-focused financial services brokerage, right? And I was talking about how we now have 2,800 agents under our umbrella, right? And we see about 200 of those writing an app monthly.
Yep.
And about 55% of our overall production comes from 15 LOA agents I have.
It is crazy, and that's the same thing we see. We looked at AEP this year, and we looked at our top 350 agents, and 80% of them were in a controlled environment in some shape or form. And I think the biggest thing that people in our industry fail to really truly understand is like, and you should write this down, like, who am I, right? Like, figure out who you are. Like, are you an independent agent? Are you an employee? Are you a business owner? Because like, I think where people, like, you can't take a business owner and make them an employee, right? You can't take an independent agent and make them a business owner. So like, really try to figure out who you are and what you want to do. And then, everybody thinks that, when you look at the industry wide, right? Like for AEP, one statistic that I thought was pretty interesting for FMOs, like how carriers look at production for Medicare is they say, okay, how many agents do you have that write an application? Divide that number of agents by the total number of apps, and what's the total application count per agent in AEP? Well, that stat's really interesting, right? So industry average, anyone have an idea what it is? 8. At IFG, which is why we're not an FMO, we're a platform that provides resources, our average was 38. And that's not a credit to me, that's a credit to Justin, that's a credit to Premium Choice, that's a credit to Elite, that's a credit to Real Senior Management, to Benji Crooms, to my internal team, to Steven Martinez, the list goes on.
Matt Timmon,
there we go. There you go.
Got you, Matt Timmon.
The list goes on, right? But it's people that are totally bought in, that are working every day as hard as they can. And when you really look at the people that, and the money that people make, right? Like, again, I stopped chasing money a long time ago. And then after stopping, giving to people and when I stopped chasing, I got more than I ever could dream of, right? But when you want to look, it's important. You can't do this and make no money, right? Well, when you look at the people that are in a controlled environment and that figure out where they belong and who they are, the amount of money they're making versus the amount of money people that are lost and trying to figure out, what they're doing and they're not in the right place, they're not really making a lot of money. So when you look at our brokers, especially just independent brokers that are like, well, really not brokers, agents, the amount of apps and the amount of money they're making is minimal. I mean, we're talking 25, 26, 30,000, and that's life and Medicare. And it's McDonald's money. It's on their own terms, and then that might be okay, right? Everybody's different. Like, you got to figure out what it is you want to do. But identifying who you are and knowing like what you want to accomplish and what the best role for you is, that's what's gonna, like Ryan Strathmeyer, right? When he first got in the business with me, I grew up with him. He's not an agent. He's not a sales guy. He became a business partner, but he functions more as an employee, and he's unbelievable. And he's built tons of wealth by being really good at what he does, but really getting in a lane to focus on doing what he should be doing. He's not an independent agent. He could even tell you he's probably not like an operator like I am, but in his role, he's an absolute superstar. And I think that's where people in this business say, oh, access to information or what you hear from someone. Like I always say to people, if someone gives you a piece of information, don't think how it applies to you. Think about how it would apply to them if you would actually do what they're telling you to do.
Yeah. And and don't get me wrong, there are some bad LOA deals that have been struck. That's probably where a lot of really bad issues come from. And the cool thing about the way we do business, the way a lot of people do business is you can do it multiple ways. So somebody can come in and have brokerage. But when we're talking LOA, sometimes people say, well, you want me to go LOA? No, think about this. Maybe if you're a business owner, you shouldn't hate the concept of LOA so much that you're afraid to build it within your own model. because there are plenty of people in your backyard that have never even thought about being an insurance agent because they wouldn't do that. But if you said, hey, do you want to come work for me in this role? And you can, and I'll tell you this story. So Jackson Taylor is one of my favorite agents. If you hadn't seen Jackson, he's just a big sweetie. I already told you this morning. Go give him a hug. He's the greatest guy in the world. But we hired him. He was an academy. He worked at, not academy, Hibbett Sports, I believe. He was like a shoe salesman for years and then was a manager there, right? And when he was told to come work with us, he was told you could easily replace that income and it's a better environment. And he said, if we would have said you can make as much as he's making already, he wouldn't have came because he'd be like, that's a scam. I'm going to keep my job right here. Because some people just don't think that way. They're not thinking, they're in that box of where they want to be. But now that he's in that system, he thrives very well in it. But he's, again, I don't think he doesn't want to go out and rebuild it. He wants to sit in there and work his butt off in there and help create good culture, sell, but not have to think about all the operating part of it. And you can't create a business. It's very difficult to create a business where you give an agent as much as we give those agents and then have them brokerage. I see some people like, I'm going to start an office and I'm going to put them, 2 levels below me, brokerage. And I'm like, you're going to go bankrupt, man. Because to give them what they deserve, and what they need to be successful, that person, we have like a 95% success rate of bringing in an LO agent from all different walks, factory workers, coaches, shoe salesmen, all kinds of stuff, people working in the service industry, bartenders, all that in that one role. None of the people that we've hired in there, except for maybe one, had even tried to go be an insurance agent before. They didn't want to. So when you're building them, just think about it that way. There's not to say there aren't some people that want to be an insurance agent that could work into an LOA model. There's also different types of LOA models, which is a lot of what portion we talk about behind the agency is breaking down different types of commission structures. It's not all brokerage or LOA. There's different sides of brokerage as well, but there's multiple ways to skin LOA. There's per app fees. There's all kinds of stuff. I bet, in Jagger's call center and when Cantu built Go Medigap, they weren't getting long-term residual, but they were paying them well. They have a great environment. They pay them an app base or a per app fee, and then they flood them with high quality flow of traffic. And that lead source is very expensive, and the process is very expensive. So you have to structure it that way. But the majority of those people remain very happy in that role and can earn a great income in it. So I think it was a good topic, and we wanted to hit on it because sometimes on Facebook you see people never go LOA. And the guy writing it makes $22,000 a year. His advice is not good. It doesn't mean I'm saying to go LOA. It's just be subjective about it. LOA is not the devil. It's supposed to be utilized for a specific purpose, and sometimes it gets misutilized, but everything does.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, communication is critically important, whether you're an employee, whether you're an independent agent, whether you're, no matter who you're working with, you need to understand whatever, talk to each other, communicate, listen. It's probably when someone comes and meets me or talks to me, I ask a lot of questions and I listen and I collect information. I learn about them. I figure out what's important to them, and then I try to create a solution to solve for it. One thing that I really wanted to talk about, and I think where a lot of people fail in our business is when you wake up in the morning and you walk into the bathroom and you look in the mirror, who are you staring at? Yourself. Success is determined by you. That doesn't mean you can't partner with people. That doesn't mean that you can't find great people to help you along the way. But it's always been on me, my entire life. If I got in trouble at school, which I did a lot when I was a kid, my parents were never the people that were like, Tyler's right. I was always wrong. I had friends where their parents would be like Scotty, my one buddy, could do anything. He could skip school and be like, Mom, I didn't skip school. And they'd be like, she'd go in and be like, he didn't skip school. And it's we definitely skipped school, but because my parents, it was simple. They shouldn't even, if they're even mentioning you in a negative way, it's your fault. It's on you. I was a wrestler, one-on-one. If I won, great, I got all the glory. If I lost, it was terrible, right? Your success is on you. Like, don't get me wrong. Like so don't, when you wake up every morning, just look in the mirror and believe in yourself and know. And when there's problems and there's issues, you take the blame. You figure it out. You learn from it. There's so many people in this business that want to point fingers and want to place blame that it just doesn't, like, you'll never get anywhere doing that.
Yeah, and you know, when you said look in the mirror and find out who you are, and you were talking earlier like about category, you know, finding, am I an employee? Am I a number 2 guy? Am I a number 3 guy? Am I a member of an executive team? Am I an agency owner? Am I somebody that's going to build a massive distribution? Am I going to take the whole industry over and put everybody else out of business? Whatever you think you are, your self-awareness is a superpower. If you are aware of that, there's way too much of, I'm going to replicate that person, or I'm going to replicate that person. It's okay to aspire to a certain business model that somebody has, but make sure it fits with who you are. And there's a plague, and this is not just in our industry, it's really everywhere, of people that want money, but they don't really want to do what it takes to get it. And a lot of the people that have it didn't do it because they just wanted money. They did it because they wanted to change something or create something or solve a problem. And I do think you guys are trying to solve problems, and we're fighting our way to the top every step of the way, because some of the old money's hard to get past. It's been around for a long time, amassing it, but for me it's really fun to feel like you're the underdog, coming to the top a little bit. And so when I started working with Tyler, I always felt like we're taking the industry by storm, and we're going to pave a way, and we're going to help people, and we're going to be transparent. We're going to create a little bit of a revolution, against just letting the people that had everything control too much of it. So.
Well, we really have. I mean, if we look at, the way that the industry is going right now, like, there's lots of consolidation, and there's lots of companies that have very mature businesses and have been doing it for a long time and are all coming together to enjoy that final, before the payday before they ride off into the sunset, which is great for them. They built great businesses, but like there's a new era. There's a better way of doing business through value, through communication, through resources. I always say, like, early years ago, you had to give someone a contract, a decent piece of technology, and an Omaha steak once a year to be successful. That doesn't exist anymore. The bar has been raised, and we need to hold ourselves accountable, and sharing information and helping people regardless of financial gain. Rebecca Davis, I was talking with her last night, and she came up to me and said, let's have one of our talks. And I talked to her as, maybe once or twice a year, and we chatted and we had good conversation, and we just, advice, like talking how things going, life. Like, that's what this business is. And your best relationships and what you learn is, if you just focus on doing right, being good, and creating value, everything else will work out. And it has.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you do that long term, it can be expensive in the forefront when you're not always thinking about money, but the long term it works out.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. And the last night, we were talking about this earlier, these events, the magic really happens at those after hours events. Even though my wife has to yell at the general manager until somebody gives, we got Johnny
West and say goodbye. We gotta go.
Are you gonna slap me in the face?
No.
Oh
Hey,
my God.
Taylor Swift deserves this, but
Taylor Swift. Everybody give Johnny T a round of applause. He has to leave us.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
I thought he was gonna come up here and slap me like Will Smith. Actually, Medicare Bob said he was gonna do that to me earlier, so I still might get slapped in the face. He said it would be really good for going viral, but I really don't want to get slapped in the face, to be honest. I don't know. I'll find some other ways. Yeah, so last night we were talking about this, and I'll wrap up soon so everybody can eat some lunch and we can network. And And the lunch today is provided by Innovative Financial Group, our
right.
sponsor. But, to wrap up, those conversations, Rebecca Davis there, all these people, and I know my wife had to, bitch out the GM and get the events coordinator who says, I don't really have any part in this. I'm like, it's an event. You're the events coordinator. What's going on? They didn't make enough food, but she got them to pay for us 35 pizzas. So anyway, we worked it out, but it was really the meeting, sitting down with people you already know or you don't know and talking and building those relationships are so vital and important at that time. So, I mean, I saw you sat over in the corner the whole night. You said before you went up to your room to get freshened up, and you said, I sat there, I thought, man, I could just order DoorDash and sit in my underwear and just relax. I'm so tired because events are tiring. That's why somebody passed out. But you sat in that corner and probably had, I don't know, 10 lengthy conversations with different people through that time.
And that's where relationships are built. You get to understand what people are doing. You learn different strategies, ways to do business. It's like that 5 to 11. And I'm traveling quite a bit on the road, and normally I'm calling my wife, who by the way is 8 months pregnant. So let's give a round of applause for my wife.
Yeah, I got you here with your wife about due, and Jagger just had a baby 4 weeks ago and got him here. You guys both told me you must be really good friends with me. So
yeah, I definitely have a great spouse, and she's amazing. And I always say if I can be like 1/10 of the person she is, I'll be good.
Well, you're not, but
I know.
So, well, awesome, man. What is you did send me some goals, man. So you right now have for IFG your 20. These are pretty lofty, bro.
Yeah, they.
Can you regurgitate them?
Yeah,
I need to read them for you.
Yeah, I want to do 75 million in life business. I want to do 350 million in annuity volume, with a 2-year goal of $1 billion, and for Medicare Advantage plans in the next 12 months. So.
And MedSup. He's
I love
coming up on MedSup. I'm trying to get him up there on the MedSup.
Health plans.
Medicare health plans.
Yes, we got to sell more MedSup.
But you guys are selling more of it.
We're doing all right. 165,000 plans is the goal.
165,000 Medicare health plans, man. Well, yeah. I hope you do, and I hope a lot of it's MedSup. So
I'll try my best.
No, we like it all. We love it all, man. Well, thank you so much for lunch. Thank you for being here. And anybody that wants to, talk to Tyler, he's very approachable. I know he looks. Who did somebody on my team said? I think it was said. Who was the guy said? Kingpin. Y'all know Kingpin? You know what I'm talking about?
I've heard Tony Saragusa. I don't know about King.
He said so. Says like Tyler. He's like the kingpin of insurance, man. He just looks like he's like the Don Mafia. Like you can't approach him. He's gonna. You're gonna be sleeping with the fishes if you say the wrong thing.
Well, you want me to like tuck in my
I need my
napkin and like get a big thing of spaghetti and meatballs?
You need a red rose in your pocket. Oh man, he's very approachable and very likable. He just looks like he runs the mafia. So.
Well, thanks. That's a first. But,
Did you? No, were you the one that said Garrett? Who was it last night?
Yeah, Garrett Diaz. He's another just unbelievable talent that I'm blessed to work with. But I was joking with him yesterday. I'm like, dude, you're the only person I know that like you could be like on the like cover of GQ as like a model. But like, if I put Netflix on and watch like Life in Prison, you could be in prison for life. I don't know how you do it.
He does.
Like that is like talk about talent, right?
And if you talk to him too, he's super nice. But he's a very good looking guy. But he also could look very scary.
Yeah.
Before I knew him, I was like, he looks unapproachable. I don't want to get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
And then you start talking to him, he's like super nice guy. So
yeah, like yo, bro. I'm like, whoa, what's up, Garrett?
So
Garrett?
Pretty much everybody's approachable. The 1 in 100 you find that's a real jerk, you can just okay. Moving on, just like not taking the phone call that sucks into the next one. Same thing with networking. You guys should meet as many people as possible. If you come here and you don't walk up and introduce yourself, I try to introduce myself to everybody that I don't recognize. But if I haven't, please come up and talk to us. Talk to Tyler because everybody's very sharing, and I'm sure they know something valuable that you'll get if you pry a little bit.
Yeah, and just real quick, in closing for me with, I'll share a little story about Justin, but he probably doesn't remember this, but when he first wanted to put on this event, and obviously it's grown, it's changed, it's scaled, he originally was going to do it in, I believe, Tennessee, and he had to cancel it because of COVID. And I remember him saying, like, we're going to have like 75 to 100 people, the place I got. So it got postponed, and then all of a sudden he's like, dude, I'm going to have to like go into a new place, and it kept growing and it kept growing. And then, what he's done online with his community. I don't think, I know everyone is super appreciative of him and everyone loves him. And he's like certainly the face in our industry. And he's like the Howard Stern of insurance, which is awesome. He has that unique ability. But, it goes unsaid and untold that, the value and the impact he's had. It doesn't, the sacrifices that he makes, the 2 a.m. text messages that wake me up, but then allows me to send out emails to my team so they think I'm crazy. But just the appreciation and the support. Tempest, his wife, you can't do it without someone that supports you and loves you and allows you to live. So I think before we go to lunch, I think we should all stand up and give him a round of applause, if you don't mind.
Amazing conference, great people, having a ton of fun here. One of the best parts to me personally is just getting to meet all these other successful agents and learning how they built their agency so we can try to do the same thing.
If you're in the Medicare space, if you want to be in the Medicare space, if you want to learn what it's like to be in the Medicare space, this is the place you need to be.
I'm feeling next level.